at the first meeting. So I would, before we do the board member report, if possible, like us to introduce ourselves, because I see some faces I don't recognize, so I just want to make sure I remember who everybody is. So we can start over here.
Okay, I'm Mary Jo Potter. I'm a teacher at South Fort Myers High School. I did have a daughter that went through the system, but fortunately she graduated from Alabama in May.
What's she doing these days?
She's teaching high school and loving it. So.
That's great.
I'm Crystal Ginyard. I'm a associate attorney with the Kelleher firm. I just moved here from Atlanta, Georgia, and I have 2 boys that are in the school system. I'm sitting for the Florida bar. I missed it by half a point, so I'm sitting for it again in February. But I'm glad to be here.
Hi, my name is Morgan. I'm a student. Actually, I go to Cape. I'm dual enrollment at FSW.
Hi, Morgan. I'm Michelle Stork again. I am a professor in the College of Education at Florida Gulf Coast University. My daughter is a graduate of Fort Myers High School, and she's a first grade teacher in Lake County.
My name is Jamie Van Cleve. I'm the intervention specialist at Challenger Middle School, and I have 2 kids. One recently graduated from the system, and one that is currently starting high school.
My name is Jack Hennigan. I founded a leadership training and development organization in 1972. I still head that organization. And we worked in leadership training and development, first with Native American governments and charities in southwestern part of the United States, and then ultimately in 25 countries around the world. I have 2 children, a daughter who lives in Phoenix and a son who founded a project in Uganda, East Africa 21 years ago. It has homes, clinics, and academies for orphans who are abandoned and live with AIDS.
I'm Brian Rasnick.
Follow that, Brian.
I should say my name and say past. But I have 2 kids in the system. They both go to Bonita Springs High School. I'm in the employee benefits business. My company was acquired by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Alabama last year. So now I'm an employee for the first time in 23 years.
Hi, Bill Ribble. I'm a retired senior executive with UPS. Now I'm the mayor of Estero.
Hi, Warren Balcom. I've got a daughter at Dunbar Middle School and a son at Edison Park Elementary School. I work for the County Economic Development Office as Director of Partnerships and Entrepreneurial Activities.
Rachel Rodriguez. I oversee the medical safety department for what is considered a VAD, which is a ventricular assist pump for the heart for Medtronic. And really the translation is I do the risk management. So I assess all the bad and the good and put it together. And this is my daughter, Gabriela Martinez, who just finished the system and is in college. And I have 2 that are currently still in the system.
Where are you going to college?
FSW.
Right, great place.
Cool. Well, hopefully I didn't break protocol by sitting at the staff liaison table. My name is Dave Montrose. I'm the Director of Performance and Quality Improvement at Catholic Charities in the Diocese of Venice. I have 2 children, 3 stepchildren in the public school system, and I used to be a teacher myself. And I know you.
I'd like to welcome Mrs. Fisher here this evening. She is here because Mrs. Morgan, I understand, is out of the country.
Yes, so Mrs. Morgan is in Vietnam with her sister. She takes a big trip every year. So I'm green with envy. I'm sure she's having an amazing time because I hear it's beautiful there. Did you want to, like, a board member update?
Sure, whatever you
So
like to share.
October is Red Ribbon Month, and we'll be having a Red Ribbon celebration here at the school district with the Drug Free Coalition on October 29th, I think. Let me see, what else can I tell you about? The board has undergone, excuse my back, has undergone a second phase of team building training, and that went very well. And we will be deploying with the support of Ms. McClung to take a part of the strategic plan and work with the community in implementing that. And the big thing is, I just reconnected with Morgan. I said, do I know you? And she said, yes, we've met before. So in 2011, I was heading up an anti-bullying task force. And what grade were you in then? Second? She was in second grade, and she created the Bully Be Gone card for kids to take a pledge not to bully one another. And she presented at our district advisory meeting at the time. So I'm happy to make that reconnection.
Wonderful. Thank you.
That is awesome.
So the first thing we need to do is approve the agenda, which was on the website that I listed. We shared everybody directions on how to access that at the last meeting. So is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving tonight's agenda, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstaining? Okay, great. So the next thing we need to do is approve the minutes from our previous meeting, which was September 11th. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from that meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Anybody second? Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes from September 11th?
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstaining? Great, we're moving right along. Okay, so Cindy is going to share with us the Vision 2030 Strategic Plan overview this evening. We did receive a PowerPoint in our email. I'm gonna try and go ahead and open it, but I'm guessing it's also gonna be.
It's gonna be up here.
As well.
Yeah, I sent it to you like right before I walked in here because I realized that you wouldn't be able to access the links otherwise. So we do have some laptops that when we get ready for our group work, we'll make sure that every group has access so that you have so you can dig a little more in depth as we go through it. But we'll start out with the whole group overview and then we'll kind of go from there. So as you know, our strategic plan, when Dr. Atkins came in, was entitled Vision 2020. And suddenly, here it is, fiscal year 2020. And so last year, we started on thinking about, well, where do we go from here? And we said, well, you know, we don't want to say Vision 2030 because that's poor vision. We don't want that. So we came up with this idea of, at the time, our kindergartners would be graduating in 2030. So let's envision, what is that going to look like for those students? You know, that's just hard to believe. So here are some pictures of kindergartners and then, you know, what they might look like in 2030. And it's really scary. Personally, I'll be retired. That's what I'm envisioning. But so what do we want to happen for those students? And that's what the strategic plan is all about. It starts with our vision, which is to be a world-class school system, and then the mission to ensure that every student is able to achieve his or her highest potential. This is a student at Dunbar High School who last year was a world champion in Microsoft. So certainly working toward achieving his highest potential. Last year, we also, for the first time in board history, approved school board values for our district, so district values. And here are the first three. There's a total of 6. And you can see they went beyond just the word, but also what does that mean to our district? Because there can be different interpretations of even the word excellence. So this is what these mean for us. So I'll give you a second to read each one. And the next 3. So these values are really the foundation of not just our strategic plan, but the work that we do within the district. And so everything that happens from the district to the classroom should really be cemented in these core values. We had in the past some different areas that were sort of like pillars We heard very clearly from our strategic planning committee, the community committee, that we had too many priorities, that we needed to focus on what is the main priority. And that was clear to us that that's student success. So within 2030, we said, well, what does that mean? And we defined that as mastery of core subject matter, having social, emotional, and foundational skill development for our students, and then sustainability of the programs that we have here and the district itself. And all of that is meeting the academic and the social emotional needs of each of our students. In order for that to happen, we have some success factors that need to be in place. Obviously, family and community engagement is vital, because if we don't have that engagement, then we're trying to work alone. And working alone, we cannot possibly accomplish everything that needs to be accomplished. Our workforce, our teachers, our support staff, our leaders, all need to be successful. So they need to have very clear direction, and that's what this plan provides, and they need to have the skills and the knowledge and the environment in order to make things happen. And then continuous improvement, making sure that every day we're working to be better than we were the day before. So let's take a look at last year's Envision 2030 results from FY19. I'll tell you there are a few that we're still waiting on some data. We'll start with these, and I'll try and make this a little bigger. Okay, hopefully it's, yeah, made it so big now I may not be able to see it all. And let me make that just a little bit small. There we go. Okay. At one point, we had a goal to be within the top 5 districts in the whole state of Florida. While that is certainly desirable, we realized after working toward that for a couple of years that the top 5 districts in Florida are very small. In fact, the top 2 were smaller. The whole district was about the same size as one of our high schools. So we started thinking, well, what is reasonable? So then we said, well, we really need to be doing comparable districts. So we looked at the top 10 largest. We are the 9th largest district in Florida. So we're now comparing ourselves to the 10 largest districts in Florida. So we said in ELA and math proficiency, we would like to eventually, if you would go out 2 more years, it'll say we would like to be first within the top 10. When we looked at FY18, we were 8th. Unfortunately, this year we actually dropped to 9th. We are getting better. The problem is others are getting better faster. So that means that we need to really work on the strategies and making sure that every student's getting what they need.
So are we looking at the fact that we're the fastest growing county, district in the state?
Yes.
Yes. And one of the most diverse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we know that these are stretch goals, but we want people to be aware of where we are. And part of that awareness is knowing what some of the challenges are. And boy, we are growing by about 1,300 students a year. We have 42% of our students are Hispanic, and we have about 40% of our students that live in households where English is not the first language. We have a lot of children that come in and they are monolingual. We have some kids that come in from other countries who've never been in school before, and they may be 14, 15 years old and have never been in school. So we have a lot of challenges, but regardless of those challenges, we feel that we really need to be working to make sure that each of those children is as successful as possible. We're working there. For our proficiency, you see, we did actually go up in proficiency from 54 to 55%. That proficiency is defined as students who score level 3, 4, or 5 on the FSA. There are lots of other ways you can look at proficiency, but because this is a state-required assessment, that's what we've chosen to use. Then we'll go on to math. Math, again, we did go up. We fell short of our target, but we are increasing. Achievement gaps. When we look at achievement gaps, we're comparing subgroups of students against the white subgroup. Because generally, when you look at data, the white subgroup of students is the highest achieving. There are lots and lots of theories around why that is so. One of the most researched goes back to that prior knowledge starting all the way back at birth. And when students arrive in school, how prepared are they? What is the background knowledge that they have? What exposure have they had to the types of, quote, schooling that they receive and the education that they receive in a school system? So when you look at these, in this case, if the number goes down, it's better. Normally, when we're looking at numbers, we want the numbers to increase. In this case, we want the numbers to decrease, because that means the gap is decreasing. So the gap for our African American Black population did decrease a little bit. Sorry. This is really hard to do on here. When we look at our Hispanic population, we're static there. Our ESE population dropped just a little bit, the gap there. Sorry, these are really a mess. And again, you're going to get this link, so you'll be able to go in on your own and look a little more closely. ELL are English language learners. So you can see there, we actually closed that gap a tiny bit as well. And our ESE students.
So how do you divide these? How do you figure out who's who? Just by what they put in the system?
Yes. We have to go on how the student is enrolled by the parent. That's what the state uses, so that's what we use. And these numbers come directly from the state.
I have to laugh because I'll give you a perfect example. She's Black, she's Hispanic, and she's white. She's whatever I feel like she is.
Whatever you mark.
A week.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, I'm being very honest with you. That's what she is.
Right.
What are you describing yourself when you complete the forms?
White and Hispanic, because those are like the dominant ones.
Right.
Even though I've instructed her that if she wants scholarships and extra free money, she should click on that little black, which is good to have.
Sometimes they don't let you because Hispanic is an ethnicity and not a race. So
right.
You could put both white and Hispanic. But you can't always put two races because they're both under the same category.
Right.
So, I mean, you have such a huge variable there.
It is. The only thing is, it's the same across the state. So it's the same for everybody. We know that it may not be 100% accurate. It's the cleanest data we have available. But again, it definitely depends on how that child is registered and what they put. No one's going to go do a blood test.
There's a lot of conversation at the state level about changing those, and the fact that over time, eventually, there won't be specific categories for people to choose, but it hasn't happened yet, so the districts have to use what the state uses.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
So Cindy, I have a question. So when we have gotten a lot of students from Guatemala, they're like this tall. There is no way they're 14 years old. I don't care what they say. But do they not have to provide a birth certificate?
Some of them don't have them.
Okay, so they don't have them. I mean, my heart.
Have you ever been to Guatemala?
No.
I can tell you that that probably is the average height for them. That is a race of Indians particularly that run very, very short stature. Just like some areas in Mexico, you're also gonna find a huge variety of indiogenic, specificities about them. So Guatemala, you can have a 20-year-old that does that size.
Well, it's funny because they will tell you, but they're really not.
Oh, because
you
they
can't
could
do
be very
anything,
honest,
you know what I'm saying?
lying about it.
And my heart breaks for them because you have these little bodies with these huge, like high school kids. I would be scared to death. And even the little girls and stuff like that. And so, and some of them are pretty open, and they'll say like, we don't have a birth certificate and we don't have to provide one. So it's just very sad for those students that we get in, because we got a junior and he hasn't been to school in 7 years. And you feel bad because he's probably never going to graduate. So.
Yeah, we definitely have some challenges around many of these areas. Let's go on to our next one, on decreasing out-of-school suspensions. And this is an interesting one. We have made progress. We did not meet the target this year, When we broke down the data, what we found was that we had a large increase in the area of tobacco nicotine use. Where do you think that's coming from? Vaping, absolutely. We don't have, it's called a assessor report that goes into the state that talks about the, and I used to know exactly what that stood for, but I don't, but it's serious referrals, basically, and one of those is tobacco use. It doesn't have a category for vaping particularly. Now, as a district, we have put some different protocol in place around vaping and have opened a new part of Success Academy. It's sort of a branch of Success Academy for students who have problems with vaping rather than serious hard drug use, so that they have a prevention program in place there. But that made up a big difference. It had increased, I just did that presentation. I want to say it was like 700%. It was a huge increase. And the other part of it is that a lot of times what they're vaping is not nicotine. A lot of times it's marijuana. So they're using the active ingredients. So a lot of times it goes down as a drug-related referral, which is a suspension. So that's where our suspension numbers didn't go down as much as we would like. And there have been some specific strategies put in place to address that. We're also working to increase the percentage of students enrolled in accelerated coursework, and that includes technology classes, AP classes, dual enrollment classes, all of those areas. We'll have that available hopefully by the end of this month. When they get the final graduation rate, then they can look at the percentage of graduates that had those courses. Percentage of students with at least one industry certification. Same thing, we're waiting on a final graduation rate before we know the percentage that graduate with that certification. But that has been going up. We're hoping to make a big impact in that within the next couple of years. We have put some real emphasis on those certifications because our community has a big need for students who can graduate from high school and go directly to work with those certifications.
So I'm just gonna, two things. One of the strategies that we have in place for vaping and using drugs is we have instituted a prevention program, and the students will go there for 20 days. They'll be able to maintain their academics, and they'll get some drug counseling, and then they'll be referred to other programs if it's their first offense. So that's a really good thing because it keeps them connected academically while getting them the help that they might possibly need. Then the other thing, what was I going to say? What were you just talking about? The certifications. The
certifications, industry certifications.
Okay. So I have a grandson who attended the Automotive Academy at Ida Baker High School. He graduated in 2010. He works for a big organization. He's a manager, and so he makes $75,000 a year plus bonuses. His wife is a teacher. She makes $43,000 with a 4-year college degree. Yeah. So the certifications definitely are where it's at when it comes to the needs of our workforce.
And we're actually, there are 4 of us that are working on a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt project around those industry certifications and looking at how we can increase the ones that are in the most demand within this district, and how do we help them get through, because that automotive one's a really tough one. There are several that they're hard to earn that certification, so we're looking at ways that we can increase the percentage that actually complete those certifications. And there's a big demand out there for them. And they make great money when they come out of school, go straight into a job making a livable wage. This was, this specific survey was not given. It was a very similar survey. But this goal was all around helping students to become aware that there was someone within their school that was an advocate for them. So the question was, is there someone I can go to that will help me, basically is the question that was asked. This is the question that's specifically from PBS, the PBIS survey. There's an adult in my school who will help me if I need it at the elementary level. At the secondary level, it's I know an adult at school I can talk to if I need help. So this is the survey that will be given this year. The one that was given last year was very similar, but it was sent only to a pilot group. And 64% answered strongly agree or agree to that. So we'd really like to see that percentage go up. That we have a lot of social emotional learning going on right now. There's some specific teaching around that. There's been a big push in the last couple of years, and I know Ms. Fisher joins me in wishing that the big push had been going on for the last many years, but we'll take what we can get. So hopefully the students will come to understand that, yes, teachers can be strict, and sometimes, everybody has heard a student say, well, they gave me a whatever, or they don't care. We want to help them understand that teachers do care, and that they want them to be able to come and talk when they have a problem and know that there is someone there that will support them. Okay, our next one is looking at school-based instructional personnel. We have a lot of turnover. It's not just in Lee County, it's nationwide. So what can we do in order to retain teachers? And actually we have over the last couple of years increased that number. We expect that, this says available the end of September. It should be available any day now. We've been waiting on that. So we expect that number to go up a little bit again this year.
What are you guys doing? Because the salaries are still the same. You just gave a perfect example. You have certificate individuals out there that are not dealing with brats. You're the one next to me, okay? And 30 of them at once. That's like a mob.
But the salaries are not.
Traumatic stress syndrome every day, and they're making less than an individual that got out of high school.
But I will say that the salaries are not the same. There has been a big push within the district. We finally got our teacher salary above the 55th percentile compared to others in Florida. We're working, the goal is to get it to the 75th percentile. The problem is we don't get the money to do that. And Ms. Fisher, you can address this much more eloquently.
So in 2008, we had property owners paid $2 million for school taxes. With the downturn of the economy, we were asked by the state to give up $250,000 and then another $250,000, which we did. So now we're at $1.5 million. So even though we've had growth and increase in property values, we've also had growth in the schools, and we have more people to pay. So we have less money to pay teacher salaries now. The other thing is there has been an effort to increase the starting salary for teachers, which is good for recruiting people. But we had a speaker at the board meeting the other night who explained to us that in 2008, a teacher with 20 years of experience was making $53,000. Today, in 2019, a teacher with 20 years of experience is making $50,000. So, and the state has continuously diminished the amount of money that they give us. We were blessed to recently pass the half-penny sales tax, and thanks to anybody who voted for it, because that has helped us. But that is only for building schools, maintaining facilities, and safety and security and technology. We cannot use that for salaries. So if we put the $500,000 on the ballot and our voters, our property owning voters voted for it, then we'd have a substantial increase in the money that we could use to pay our teachers more. And not only our teachers, but our other staff, because we have lost people in our operations and other environments that we can't compete. And we can't compete with our neighboring counties, which are smaller and have a higher income from property taxes. So we've grown, and we have earmarked more and more money. One of the things we're looking at now is our insurance benefits to see how we can maximize that and add more board contributions to take some of the pressure off of our employees. But it's been a challenge because we're working now with a lot less money than we had and we have a lot more people.
I just want to add on to what Mrs. Fisher is saying, because if the FTE or Florida funding formula per student is really complicated. It's difficult to understand how the state gives money to the districts, but one of the things to keep in mind is over the past probably decade or so, the state has sent out a lot of legislative mandates that are not funded, meaning they are requiring school districts to do things that cost money, but they don't provide anything to do that. So the districts have to come up with that money out of their own pocket per se, and that makes it very challenging to, I don't think there's anybody in this room or anywhere else that feels that teachers, should be paid more. But the problem is when you have all these unfunded mandates by the state and you're not getting any income to meet those, then it becomes really challenging. So I would encourage you to, those of you who are, wondering about this, I would encourage you to learn more about FTE funding and how that works, learn more about the unfunded mandates from the state, because it might help you understand some of the challenges that districts face, particularly one that is this size.
And also the legislative challenges they make those decisions. So, if you're interested and, you have a voice and you let your legislators know how you feel about it.
And 2020 is an election year, and we have several local legislators terming out. And I will say that after we passed the sales tax, one of the legislators said to me at an event I was at the following day, she said, okay, you got the sales tax, don't think you're getting any more money from us, because you're not. Wow, okay, thank you.
You said we're at the 55th percentile on teacher
salaries.
And we want to get 75th. What does that mean in dollar?
Well,
like we're starting.
It would depend on the chart at the time. This is statewide, right?
Right, statewide. We'd have to ask Angela for the most recent one.
I'm just curious where we need to target.
Right, and we're trying to do that with all of our salaries to make them closer to market value so that we can attract and retain people. But yeah, it's a challenge.
And it changes all the time. When we started it, we got our teachers to 40,000 for a starting rate. That moved us up considerably, but then many districts put a sales tax that went for operational funding, some that went specifically for teacher salary. So they raised their salaries, which dropped us down in the percentiles again. So it's a changing target that we're shooting for. And then you've probably seen the recent governor's statements around wanting to raise the beginning teacher salary, which says nothing for everybody else. And that means probably another unfunded mandate and this hasn't even been taken up by the legislature. So this is all conjecture. But again, if you're gonna talk to your legislators, one thing would be, that's great. What are we going to do for the people who've been here for 20 years? So, yeah.
It's almost better for them to quit and get rehired as a new teacher. Because we just had a teacher that retired after 38 years, and she retired making $52,000. I mean, it's so sad because you can't even live on that.
Let's go ahead and go through the rest of them a little bit. These are all HR ones around connects to offers, and then which they did meet. Unfilled, the percentage of unfilled positions, and these are core positions on the first day of school. The industry standard is less than 0.5%, and we are well below that. So very pleased with that one. There's the connects to offers, and this is people that they make connections with at recruitment fairs and that type of thing, and then how many of those turn into an offer. So they did meet their goal on that this year.
So one of the things I'm all for paying teachers more money, but that last statistic basically says that you're not having a problem, it seems like, filling positions at the price you're willing to pay right now, correct?
No, we're really having a problem filling positions.
No, the offer doesn't mean they get hired.
But no, your stat is that we're at 0.28.
filling on the first day.
On the first day, so you're able to hire people at that starting salary better than other districts in the state. So right now, I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, but we're not retaining them is our
Yeah,
problem.
they don't necessarily.
Right, and so the turnover, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
now it's a function of trying to keep them and maintain them.
Right.
So we're able to hire them.
Right.
What are we doing wrong where they're not staying?
Well, and
The neighboring, sorry, I have to point at you, he's paying better than you are. That's really what it is, and if I have to just drive, an extra 10 minutes to get to his school district to make another 10 grand and be able to put food on my table, and I'm not a teacher, that's what I would do.
But you're being hired in Lee County and then
And
leaving.
it's giving you the experience that you need in that resume in order to leave and to go into his district. And if you're smart and you went to get that degree at that college and you have that college debt, that is what you will do.
Now keep in mind, the Sterl's Lee County though.
yeah, yes.
Ultimately, though, you have
That's
enough,
true. Yeah.
you have enough competitors around you that they can very easily leave to the other areas.
Well, and there are a lot of contributing factors as well. Over half of the new teachers that we hire are career changers. And it's very easy to think, I went to school, so I know how to teach. It's very different when you get into a classroom.
In my world, lately, we hire a lot of FGCU students,
Mm-hmm.
and the problem right now with millennials, and this is going around in the private sector employers, problem with millennials is I take 2 months, 3 months, they're degreed students that are coming to me to work, and after 3 months of making $45,000 or $50,000 as a starting salary, they say, you know what, I think I should be making more money, I want 60 or 70, so I'm gonna go out and find this, or I'm gonna go back to school and do that. And so our problem now is we're kind of leaning, we're going away from hiring new graduates because they're still in that period of where everybody's like, oh, do I want to go back to school? Do I want to get my master's program? So now we as an entity have just wasted 6 months training a person, and they say to us, you know what, I'm going to go back and get my master's degree. And so it's a problem right now in that 21 to 26-year-old range.
Yeah,
They just
in
don't
many
wanna stay
industries.
put. They don't wanna stay
in
put.
many industries.
The grass is always greener somewhere else.
Well, I think your point too of, you're saying we're not really having a hard time getting the positions filled, which we are having a hard time getting the positions filled, but if we're putting all this money from the state is saying, well, we're gonna put this new money into new teachers, obviously that's not really the issue is retaining them and taking care of the currently employed staff. So what I heard from when you said that was, yeah, that's not really the problem. The problem really is what are we doing when they're here? Because yes, as soon as you get hired, and honestly, most teachers get hired, they don't really know what they're making when they get hired, especially when they don't know about the benefit costs. Like $1,200 a month to pay for you and a spouse. That's what it costs for insurance a month. So they get hired and they go, what do I make? You know, and then they find out after 2 months and they go, no. And it costs $30,000 typically to hire somebody.
That's
Every single time
expensive.
you hire somebody,
It's
just
expensive.
$30,000. So every time we have somebody leave, that's money down the drain.
And
That
I'm
could be
seeing
one
a
for
lot of
salaries.
people in the private sector that are taking those students that have come out with their education degrees because they have a broader range of skills they have to learn, start classroom management, the whole 9 yards. Those are management skills, those are soft skills, those are the types of things that employers are looking for. And they can say, I can teach them that A, B, C, D that I do to make my widget.
Exactly.
Now they've got this, and so you're not only competing with other educational systems, you're competing with people that want that whole package ability. And
That skill set.
at the end of the day, there's no way under the constraints that they're put up with from the state and every other thing that's piling on. Keep them, I know several, well, not several, I know a couple of Golden Apple teachers that are strongly considering another career outside of education because A, now they've got that on their resume, they've got all these other things, and it's, hey, why not cash in now?
We had a finance major that we hired, graduate from FGCU, worked for us for 6 months in our finance area, learned the job, and said, you know what? I want more vacation, I want more time off, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna be a teacher. And so they went to FGCU now to get their teaching degree, so they left, they graduated with a finance degree, came to us, they were making $65,000. And I said to them, listen, you're gonna get summers off, but you're gonna make $25,000 less.
We'll take them. Okay. So we also want to make sure that our employees are healthy, and we have an amazing health program here.
Expensive one.
Well, if you are only insured yourself, then there is no cost, or there can be no cost, depending on which program you pick. When you choose to add a spouse or children, yes, it is much more expensive.
I have 5 people under mine and I don't pay half of what you're paying.
That's pretty awesome.
That's what I'm trying to express here.
Well, and as Mrs. Fisher said, as Ms. Fisher said, the board is looking to see if there is some way that they can work toward increasing benefits.
Well, yes, and the insurance task force is getting ready to present, they cut down from 4 choices to 3 with some more global availability to doctors and less cost to the employee. However, we're still $12 million in the hole. We're trying to see how we're gonna
Yeah, and I met with them over the summer. I met with the benefits people, just as my position here. Just my side note, and I know it's on camera, but they're looking at it. They're looking to put a Band-Aid on a problem instead of fixing it long-term. And so I wouldn't be real optimistic if I was a teacher in the cost of a medical plan. It may fix it for a year or 2, but 3 years from now, 4 years from now, they're still gonna have a gigantic problem.
Okay, you guys have a monopoly here. That's the reality. You're nothing like Dade County and Broward, where you have competition in different healthcare systems, okay? You literally have a monopoly. Why not try and get some sort of agreement done with Lee?
Yeah, that's.
I'm just gonna interrupt for a second.
I think that there are conversations.
These are all like really important conversations to have. I think it's really important for Cindy to get through the 2030 strategic plan. And then as a committee, we can identify specific areas that are most important to us to focus on. Because if we don't hear the whole strategic plan, it's gonna be hard to determine what areas we wanna focus on. There's certainly a lot of conversation we could talk about every single point of the strategic plan, but since we only have until 7:30, if we could just let Cindy get through, and then as groups, we can identify the areas that we wanna focus on.
Perfect, thank you. So one of the pushes to increase health is to go through that health screening. And we have over 50% of our employees who do a health screening either in this building or out at one of the schools, and that is provided free. There are flu shots and pneumonia shots that you can get for free as well. Physical safety, obviously, there's been an increased awareness around that recently. Because of the legislative requirements, we have a pretty large plan that includes things like the hardening of schools, but also things like different new drills, making sure that people are aware of those, screenings, threat screening teams. So of this plan, it was set out to do a third last year, a third this year, a third next year, and obviously the most important or the highest priorities were done in the first year, and that's coming along well. That said, some of you were here last year when our Director of Safety came and did a presentation, and there are some things that they're obviously not going to talk about because there are things that, for safety reason, need to be kept confidential. We're looking at reducing transportation costs, and we do not have that data in yet. That actually takes until January because that data is collected at the state level. This is one that has been worked on for several years, looking at decreasing our overall energy cost, and we've done a really good job with that overall. The state median is $1.15 per square foot, and last year we were at $1.07 per square foot, which may not, 8 cents a square foot may not sound like a lot until you think of how many square feet we are. That's a lot. And then the construction of student stations, honestly, we may not meet that. We don't have that information yet, but the formulas at the state level have changed, and basically no counties are meeting that. So they're looking at how they can target that and get that changed. Our customer satisfaction was based on a question on one of our surveys. It's a little bit lower than what we would hope to have. We're looking at better ways to get more actionable feedback around that. And then our last one is looking at increasing the percentage of personnel that are trained in improvement processes. And our overall goal we did not meet, but when you look at our administrators, we had 81% of our administrators have been through at least one full day of training in process improvement. And it really has made a big impact in the district and the way the approaches that are being taken to problem solving. So we're really excited about that. Now you see that number right there, goal number 24. These 24 goals were all part of the plan itself that was approved by the board. I can't remember 24 goals. I don't know about you. But I advocated very strongly, and our steering committee advocated very strongly for putting a spotlight on a few goals or a few long-term objectives at the plan level, and then looking at the goals in more detail at the department and school level. So as we go into Envision 2030, the goals, the plan itself has changed a little bit, the format of the plan. And this was just approved at our last board meeting. And hopefully I can get back to it, but this is not letting me back. There we go. So we now have within the plan itself 5 long-term objectives. Now, we still have the strategies that were there before, and if you're familiar with the old plan, it had, with the old plan, the original plan, it had strategies broken down into years. So we had from 2018 to 2020, these were the strategies that we'd have the focus, then 2020 to 2025, and 26 through 2030. And when you access the full plan, those are there. But what I wanted to draw your attention to for this group, what we need to look at, were the 5 areas where we have long-term objectives. Now, the first 3 are very closely related. When we were looking at increasing academic achievement, one way to do that is to increase kindergarten readiness. As we talked about, we have a high percentage of our students that come to school and test as not being ready. Now, there may be problems with the test itself, because it's given in the first 30 days of kindergarten, but it's given in the first 30 days of kindergarten in all 67 districts. There are only 6 districts with lower percentage of students who test as ready for kindergarten than Lake County, and they're all much smaller and rural. So we're very concerned about that, which is why that rose to the top as being one of the 5 long-term objectives. Another area that we just talked about was making sure that our students have alternative pathways. Not every student wants to go to college. Not every student is able to go to college. So we want to make sure that there are other pathways that are available where they can be highly successful. So we're looking at increasing college and career readiness, and a lot of that does go around the certifications and technical fields. Increasing workforce success, and that's our internal workforce. So making sure that our workforce has what they need in order to help our students be successful. And then increasing operational efficiency and effectiveness. So these are the objectives. These are the big ideas around them. The work is actually done at the department and the school level. Every school improvement plan is available for public viewing. When you come to these and you click on here, you will see the department goals that are related specifically to these. And some of them are also school goals. So when we go to increasing academic success and you click on that, you're going to go to all the goals that are related to, specifically related to that. Everything in general is related to academic success or student success. But in this particular one, and I'm just going to show it to you because you're going to have time to go in and look at this as soon as we finish here. So you'll see that there are specific goals that are related to that. Very first one is to get back to being an A district. And even though we're more concerned with what our students can do, so proficiency, than how we are labeled by the state, it's a big perception thing. People talk about, what is my school grade? What is our district grade? So we want to get to that so that we can be proud to say, we are an A district, and even the state acknowledges that we're in an A district. That's going to take some doing. It's going to take some stretch goals, but we're very confident that, over the next couple of years we can do that. We would like to be able to do it in the next year. And related to that, you'll see some proficiency rankings around ELA and math. You'll see, again, the rankings compared to the 10 largest districts, and then the academic achievement gaps. Each of these goals also has KPIs or key performance indicators that are related to them. So as you scroll down, you're going to see, so how are they going to keep track of those things? So we get down here and we'll see these are quarterly goals. We're almost at the end of first quarter, so these will be filled in within a couple of weeks after the end of the quarter. So they'll be looking at where are students on track to make those goals. And you'll notice this says shared goal, because it's not just the teaching and learning departments, but we also have intervention services that play a big part in that, and our ESOL department, because we have specific strategies for our ELL students, and our ESE department, because we have specific strategies for our ESE students. So as you go in and look at these, you'll be able to see what particular departments are working on those. Same thing is true for each one. When we go into kindergarten readiness, you're going to see different ways of looking at readiness. So as we...
Cindy, the PowerPoint you sent us doesn't have the links in it, right? Correct?
It does.
Oh, because the one I have...
When you open it up, it's this PowerPoint. When you open it up, the links are only live when you're in live format. So if you do run program, you should be able to get right to the links. It's funny because I sent you this one. Okay, we'll figure it out. We'll get you there, okay? So as you go through, you'll see those as well. Because you're going to get a chance to look at these, I'm going to skip down to the last one because it is different. Increasing operational efficiency and effectiveness looks at not so much students or workforce, but looking at processes. And what are those processes that we want to make sure are really as efficient as we can get them so that we can put more money where it needs to be in the classroom. So our goal is that we're going to increase the operational efficiency and effectiveness, and we're looking at specific targeted measures, and we want at least 80% of those to be within their goals that they've set. So for example, one of our biggest things is our transportation system. We want our students to be at school on time. We want them to be back home on time. As of a week ago, I don't know what it was today, but as of a week ago, morning drop-off was 96% on time. Yeah. On time is defined in the mornings as being there before the bell rings, and in the afternoons as being there within 10 minutes of their scheduled time. So they're really working on that. They're tracking it through GPS logs, because in the past we had basically assistant principals out on the bus ramp putting into Castle what time a bus came in. Well, something else might be going on. They might not have time to write down the exact time the bus comes in. So now we have the ability to, through technology, to track it with GPS. And they also are taking notes. So beginning of school, they're every afternoon at 3 o'clock, what happens in Florida? You get a big storm, right? We don't let our students leave a school if there is an electrical storm in the area because it's not safe. So a bus might be sitting on the ramp for 30 minutes waiting for a storm to pass. So of course they're not on time. But now we have some data that says, oh, okay, yeah, we only had 60% of our buses on time that day, but it's because we had a big storm hit, and that's why. So they're doing some really cool things with looking at that. So you'll get a chance to look at these. In your groups, we want to make sure that there's at least one computer at every table so you can take a look at them. I want you to take some time, and I'm trying to figure out what time it really is. It's already 5 till 7. So we'll take like 15 minutes, take a look at that. If we need to extend this into our next meeting, we can. But take a look, see if there are specific areas that you want to know more about, because we can invite people in to give you more detail into any of these areas so that you feel comfortable making a recommendation. Okay. All right, so you have yours. Let me resend it for beginners and see what happens.
If you resend it, I'll have to reconnect to I can't access my email
from there.
The guest network. So
okay, so go ahead and open yours up and let me take a look at it. Julie's going to bring computers around so we make sure we can get everybody in somewhere. Let me send it again. See, maybe the links hadn't clicked in yet.
Oh, it's
But even a PDF should work. I mean, the links always work.
Speak over it.
I can't even access my eldest. My eldest television right now. Yeah, she's right.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. I was just saying the same thing, quietly though, 'cause
It doesn't have links.
It's not
I'm
working?
that student that just stays.
We don't know what we're supposed to double click
Where
on.
we're supposed to go.
Well, it's not working, so I'm gonna resend. The links didn't, for some reason, the hyperlinks didn't connect, so we're gonna try it again.
I get blamed all the time, that's all right.
Boy, you got a big shindig coming up here.
Okay, I'm resending, and we will see.
That's when the network starts.
I'm sending it to me too, to see if it opens for me.
Like have people there early so they don't. Yeah, you gotta book on that for all counts. That's it. Probably working with Dylan. I got hired.
Yeah, I didn't get it because.
Oh, because you're not on that group.
Because I'm not on
I'm so
the group.
sorry. Let me send it to you too.
A lot of really good competition. It's a lot harder to pick than they have been.
How many get it as of now?
We're looking at a little over 500. Next year we'll do about.
Okay, I just sent it to you.
So Harvard's has a big one.
Well, it just has some, that's.
It hasn't come in to me yet.
How much is, how many can they get at Harvard?
Last time we had an event at Harborside, we had almost 1,100. I was at a couple of them. Plus, even if it's not quite that many, we could set up in different ways. We did like theater in the round straight stage, so there's been like boxing ring, so we had tables all around it, that kind of thing. So
We hired a couple, back when, 2015. We hired a couple consultants that gave presentations. You had really.
For some
I'm not gonna stay here if you're gonna pay me. So that, if I can bet that's supposed to make sense.
Look at the links on that. I'm not excited to show.
It didn't, I didn't even get it, and it didn't come to me.
Were we just doing increase efficiency?
No, you're looking through whatever parts you want to look at, and whatever you want to know more about. So you come up there and say, I would like to know more about this or that.
Yeah, it's not, well, it wasn't letting me go into my actual email, but it was accidentally.
The mom was checking out, she went into the school thing, and I tried not to put it because there's so many pages printed all out.
You don't log into it, like, it's takes forever. And then I
Okay, I just got it. It's the worst.
comes to the side of our district, is it possible to basically like have a.
Of course, nailed that.
We do.
Whenever we are at the end of the day, I'll tell you because
Is everybody on board? Buy in?
Okay, I have links on mine, okay. So when it came through,
Like the.
You know,
special ed.
For like, for most people, like the sugar and
No, my oldest son and my youngest son has an IEP, and so that's why I know, that's what I was trying to look for. Okay.
Everybody will be. Here's how we get where that we're trying to.
Guys able to get one that works now?
Yeah, we're using
How
these.
we can get one
Like I need to sit down.
I mean, I work for it.
So that should work out. Were you all able to get in? I don't know what to double.
So that's my recommendation. Nothing to do with consider just
Exactly.
So you can click on whichever you want to look at.
What it is this committee is ultimately supposed to do. Content is one thing, but the implementation is.
Girl, after my own heart, but talking to Greg to do
How do we do that? Short, why? Like.
What are you studying?
So we got. And then you've got this.
Yeah.
But how do we make it?
They don't score. That's kind of like
The score is the configuration of the small organization. Usually service corp retired.
that's not what you want to do. That's what
Not
I know. So when
it's just beyond that.
I'm in a different state of mind, because I'm like, I think
We
that's
took
not
over
what you want to do. But here it seems to be, no, that's okay, and jobs, and these are different
Here,
companies.
it's literally a person right now here. And
So for example, it sounds like
And so that was how I realized, this is how we do it. For 2 days. How we make this work.
And he even got home on
Maybe they're doing this.
Because a lot of other kids.
It's only possible to top down. Here's your learning.
So for those students, here they see, they'll be able to
Sometimes usually.
So here's the part of what we're talking about. I've got these like 2 years, I'm still.
It's just a different mindset. It's so, it's different.
Five schools. So I did even, these are very specific strategies of how they're going to do it. Depends on the culture.
Oh, yeah, I tell my sons that.
strategies to set out, they're really not that specific because there is not a strategy. Those are actions.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's an action plan.
This is really getting to like the difference in the
But what they are doing is one.
Well, but I was working.
From the outside in, you just, I don't see. I just see a whole bunch of kids going to school. For me, it's very different.
I'm not talking about, I'm not, that was just like, I find that way of being for parents, not necessarily.
So maybe actions like that, that's what they just.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, my.
sort of issues
But
that
he's not
on this committee,
And
our
so
charge
we want them
to
to
advance
advance
strategic plan and identify areas.
we do it on the
And to get them response, so then the officials be able to see what those action steps are. They will come strategy, that's something like that. It would be beneficial to see those.
The sheriff's picked up some of that.
Yeah.
I would be
what to do. But why would the
Causes it to change. Is there one? These
And they have a strategy.
No, but that's what I mean. Why did they change?
It's a different mindset.
Who decided to change it? Did they give up too soon? Or was it a failing plan? Or they gave up early, which is fine. You sometimes often have to do that.
It isn't.
Program, state. That's a lot of bus stops to protect. Get lighted.
Or there's a justice timeline because of that.
4 years old, he was actually.
So
they call it pre-K or he was like Monday, that was and then for kindergarten, you know, that's why you count kindergarten, first grade and so on. And here, it's not a requirement.
I don't know if I want to, but it's job description, all of the above.
I mean, you know, it's not the department's so that's not my issue. My issue is if there's any transparency and I know last year was like, the water a little bit. I can tell you, but in this situation, we're in a nice because I feel like they're really important. One pre-K is one hour. And then give one information different areas of our, and I can see the district different. Right. But at the end of the year, I like to see and process to see. Did you hold 6? Did you hold 4? Did you hold 12? Like how they started to
I always feel that we have, and I know it sounds like you're saying we're getting that, but it's just because honestly they come here and they just, you know, trying to get their professionals that. Do not speak
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So what are our actions?
But it's not like I just wish there was a negative school that comes out.
So who's the partners?
Partnership with another organization, who's working with daycare centers, what are think about how these things will go without the work with people who don't need her. Right.
I'm certainly not saying do it to the best of our skill. I'm assuming it does it.
And some of them probably some are very formalized and there's an action plan. And some are not as formalized. For example,
It literally translated
there's a committee that's working with pre-K coalition and so last year we did a plan of our population process.
So I'm like, okay, so then we had
and areas
between the IT people
the
and myself
and the teachers were invited in to learn about.
literally spent a couple of days trying to find a program that kind of worked with something. Which are those dictionaries that they get those translations. It's really this is what we do. They give it to me in the logical, I mean, it's so I don't know, it's just, I wish we could get our assessments in the language, especially Spanish.
So they're
state
very
of Florida and
to
Texas.
Every day.
Speculation. There is because one of the papers that I always know from when you call
Or actually, those are cheap, but I can't imagine profit for the tax.
that's what it's all about. The teachers that they work with part of it, and we take it out.
But I think that is really valuable information.
That knows that you have to source the e-learning. Right now, I know it because. So in all of these areas, I know it all really have to,
we have to do that.
but these are the key players that we have to go on in our agency.
I mean, it's not the same, right?
And some of the actions, because if a teacher comes up and says, great, I was really expecting some
I do, and I think that kids feel better.
That's really what was happening. And it's translated. Kids in the by force, I guess it's not that everyone
Does it slow down the child that's translating?
They are doing this.
Usually you have with the kids.
You have to, yeah.
The exact same thing you taught.
To make those points. I mean, it takes, and then
The same issue, and they find out that there's a result.
yeah, this, so I guess I work toward it. Staff that. To make a recommendation, staff that. If there's someone on this team that's letting them back.
Yeah, and they really are.
There absolutely has to be an action.
There is some right to achieve that. And I know,
Which I think it's great that this leads to, they offer no conversation that.
but I think
They do conversation.
and this lady, maybe I'll just step back for now, to understand what those are.
It's like, it's really good to take a moment to do that, that's practice. And I guess that's a session, it's just, so I need to know that.
But I do, it's a situation, and I do understand why it's important. It's the matter, it's how to get it.
What, especially when you're being more,
This is how to make that.
Lots of questions, so, and we have. So we look at time.
Yeah.
The item far removed than academics.
I would love to sit talk about
If my son got a master's degree in psychology and education. He understands a lot of the stuff. I don't know. What I have found the biggest concern for me is how these come about. If they come spontaneously, that's fine.
That's all fine.
Somebody somewhere sits together in a group in the school, says, all right, this is gonna be a pilot school for this program for people. But how does that communicate collectively?
let's take, for example, look at this thing out, and I know what's going on. So, this is because we are not. Well, I can tell that even coming out here. they are not getting back the funding. Now, have you ever tried to check them? Is there a difference between the kids who are going to ours are actually fully prepared because we have the most that come through pre-K, who are pre-K are the ones there's usually, I think having
would be, and have.
The problem is.
How can we expand Spanish, not just, this and having, and make that a class, actually a class where they're actually including. So they're watching students with their safe then
So I always say, I
you always have, every single period, have a student, students who speak all languages, and be actually get as many students.
These kids are being involved.
In the meantime, while we're working on it, just.
I mean, you're fine, so as board members,
For me, it's just, I mean, I'm not
one of the guys
so you drop your child who does not speak it, like, for me, I could, this part is great.
Well, they put it without, when they help them enroll them, they come to kids, and then they get assigned to the school, so the parents are actually here, and then they pay, and they get them higher. And when I heard all that, and
Where's the three-quarters of people, they didn't realize three-quarters of people have an easier time finding jobs.
Or Charlotte. Yeah.
So it's kind of
That's white talent.
now that's another process that goes through the whole agreement process. So we have all of the other
so that
American is last year, like, can you say your
social skills and communication skills. There's gotta be, they can give it to me. There's gotta be and she was by the time she was something to.
Not the major ones, but in
At least to have it
middle areas. I encourage these guys.
Simple, they got rid of
But, yeah, Brian.
I have to.
Board meetings where you have 20 to 30 people. They're working board meetings. You're there for 2.5 days, you're having all the meals catered. They usually open up this thing and you have to come down and you walk back. He says that we are.
There's a perception sometimes that
And in the background, all these actions happening, right? People don't know what they're doing. And something like, wow, I didn't realize what's working so hard.
This whole thing might.
Access before, I got you guys just.
I would like to know. Management.
Okay.
And
It is 7:20, so I'd like to ask everybody to stop your wonderful discussions. I know we had a great one over here, I'm sure you all did at your tables as well.
Well, I did this stuff.
All right,
You ready, guys? All right, it's 7:20. So, what we've decided is, Cindy has asked if everybody on the committee, or Julie, everybody on the committee should send 2 areas that they would like to focus on that are part of the strategic plan that you reviewed. If you didn't get a chance to review everything you wanted to review, we now all have the PowerPoint with the links working. Cindy resent it so we can look through that. And if we could each send Julie 2 areas that we would like to learn more about or focus more on. I'll work with Cindy and Julie and we'll put that together, and Cindy will arrange to make sure that we have somebody from the district come and present on the 2 most popular areas or 1 most popular area.
Well, for the next meeting, we'll take whatever the top one is and try and get that person here, and then we'll bring those back to you at the next meeting so we can prioritize and decide what you want to do for the rest of for the follow-up meetings.
Yeah, so my suggestion would be take a look at the second PowerPoint Cindy said, because that has the links in it, and you can see the background information. And if there's a specific area that you want to know more about, email that to Julie, up to 2 areas that you'd like to know more about. And we'll figure out what the most popular one is and have somebody here at the next meeting from the district that can give us more information and answer any questions we have. Does everybody, who does not have Julie's email address? You should, because she sends us stuff.
Yeah, I can get it from her.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And so now I have to ask, is there anybody here that would like to make a public comment? I don't think I've seen anybody.
One person from the public.
What? So this is the time of the meeting where anybody who's a member of the public, in that case that would be you, can share anything that they would like about the committee's work or something that you would like to have addressed.
Good work.
Thank you.
Does anybody have anything they would like to share for the good of the order? Wow, so we're ahead of schedule.
Woo-hoo.
So I'd like to thank everybody for your time this evening, and the draft meeting minutes and the agenda will be available on the website as soon as Julie has it available. Thanks.
Yep. If you have not signed up for the alerts, please do that and you'll get an alert when those are added. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. We will see you next month. I think she just dismissed us.